But as opportunities arise and, you start doing new things, that brand needs to evolve with you. So
yeah.
I would say don't be so structured and rigid in what you think you need to be. Take a step back and actually have a real honest appraisal of, yes, look at what you want to be, but also look at actually who you are and what you're doing and what you stand for and why it is that you're doing what you're doing.
Welcome to the Design Dialogues, the podcast where we dive deep into the business of interior design. I'm Beth Beesky, the founder of More Time to Design and a designer with over 13 years of experience. I'm here to help you navigate the challenges of running a successful studio, whether you're a solo designer or leading a team. Each week, I chat with industry experts and share practical insights to help you streamline your processes, grow your business, and create a studio that thrives. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy our Design Dialogues. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Design Dialogues podcast. And this week I am joined by Marc Bennett from Momo Handles. Hi Marc.
Hi Beth, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good, very good.
So I always like to start by finding out what can you see out your window today?
So I'm up at our head office in Western Sydney. I'm looking out the window at the big awning area to the entrance to our distribution centre. So I'm seeing a busy warehouse workforce driving around on their forklifts, fulfilling orders and getting stuff out the door.
Very, very cool. So tell us a little bit about Momo Handles and your role at Momo Handles and your background in the industry.
Sure. So I'm the marketing director for Momo Handles and the parent company Firmware Group. So I started with Firmware about 7 years ago, and at the time we were rebranding to the Firmware Group, and the business was in a bit of a transformational stage. Where it was been in the industry for 35 years in the kitchen and cabinet hardware space, and really wanted to evolve its, perception of the brand within that sector, but also expand its offering out to architects and designers. And that's really where Momo Handles sort of was inspired by, because it was the one part of our offering that we thought that we could curate to take as a spearhead towards that architect and design sector. And it really has gone from strength to strength and been a shining light as one of our offerings.
Yeah, how awesome. And tell me a little bit about your background. So you obviously have a marketing background, and how you came to working with handles and like a hardware company.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a fun road. I came from a creative background and worked in advertising agencies through my 20s, and worked with great brands such as Citizen Watches, for example. So I've always sort of been around what I like to call fashion brands. I then went into the wine space. Mm-hmm. And, worked with brands under McWilliams Wines Group, such as Tattinger Champagne, Drambuie Liqueur, and a whole range of Australian wines that they represented. Again, although in the liquor industry, they sort of do fall into that sort of fashion brand space again. So coming then into hardware and eventually into Momo Handles, I sort of took that experience from working with these brands that sort of had that background in coming across as a fashion brand, and sort of applied my knowledge to Momo, which I really believe is a sort of fashion brand. People speak about the cabinet handles being the jewelry of the kitchen, adorning the space, and so I sort of took my knowledge from those other industries and applied it to how we position and present Momo to architects and designers. And I think it's really, it's been a great journey to be a part of. And I think that we've been able to capture the imagination of the sector and really, share our story and our journey with them.
Yeah, it's so interesting, knowing the brands that you worked for. At first, they do seem quite different, but then you actually can kind of weave that thread through them, and it is, as you say, it's like a a fashion or a lifestyle offering kind of thing across all of those brands. It's and like across the different segments. It's really very interesting. One of the things that you use the word like a curated selection or a curated offering,
Yep.
which is kind of how Momo is. And it's really interesting because, there are some gone are the day, well, no, you can still get them, where, you'd get a catalogue that's nearly as thick as the yellow pages of like all the different handles and, door hardware that you can use. Where was the thinking about offering a much more curated selection of door hardware?
Yeah, well, it sort of came from wanting to have variety initially, and I think that we've probably been guilty of having sort of a range that was too big at some stage as well. But so I won't pretend that we haven't done that. But what it comes down to is we're constantly evolving with the brand and trying to bring new things to market and stay, I wouldn't say on trend. It's more about bringing excitement and new styles and designs, like classic designs that will last the test of time. But we want to be fresh, so there is that sort of strategy to have that constant innovation and evolution of the brand. And in doing so, it's an outlay of cost for the business. So you can't just keep every single handle on stock on shelves, because you end up with millions of dollars worth of inventory that's not moving out the door. So there is this sort of, I guess, product life cycle that we have implemented, where we're looking at what's popular and what's not. We have our core range of what we believe is classic designed handles that we continue to stock. But we are also evolving that offering with new products and new designs consistently.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because handles, maybe not the most exciting product out there kind of thing. I mean, they play a really crucial part, but it's quite a dry product to be marketing.
Yeah.
How does the power of like brand marketing and the power of a strong brand, how does that loop into the product of, in getting people engaged with a handle company?
Yeah, and I think that's where I've been able to draw that weave from my other industries is, brand marketing is not just about the product that you offer. It's really talking about who you are and what you stand for and tapping into a brand's persona. You're creating an emotional connection with the brand. So it's not just about the D handle that sits on the cabinet.
Yeah.
But, we try and create that brand story that really resonates with people. And I guess we're trying to, the end result is creating brand advocates of the people that use our product. And we do, collaborate with a lot of top designers, do a lot of content to show how different people are using our products in their stunning projects, and really bring our audience along with us on showing what is possible with what may seem a bit of a boring product. But to us, there's a lot of prestige that can be had. There's a lot of different ways and different styles that you can use the product to create a different effect. And it's all about, I guess, sharing our passion and our vision with the people, and hoping that we can align.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So you've just used a term that I think not enough designers really appreciate, about how you are trying to cultivate brand ambassadors. So you really want other people to be your advocates out there in the market. And that is the best kind of marketing. Like, if you've got other people talking about you and in a positive way, that is the best kind of marketing there is.
For sure.
Because we're all the same. Like, we are more likely to buy something if we, our friend has used it, or, we know someone who used the product and they love it in their kitchen and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
When you're thinking about developing that kind of strategy around how you are going to create brand ambassadors and how you make sure that everyone has that experience where they just can't talk about your product more, like they can't talk about it enough, What are some of the things that you think about in putting together that strategy?
Well, I've got a little bit of a brand matrix, and it's nothing revolutionary, but it's something that I've sort of tailored to align with my thinking, and it's sort of, if you can imagine a three-pronged triangle,
Yeah.
and the three things that I've put on each end of the triangle, you need to align on all three in order to really create that authentic brand,
Yeah.
and it will show up the weaknesses you have. So on one corner, I've got what I call true brand, and I deliberately use the word true because it's very important to be honest about who you are and what you stand for as a brand, and discover why you're doing what you're doing. So the word true is very important, that side of it, and it will show in the other two things that I'm about to speak about. So the second thing is brand presentation. So presentation being all those touch points where people come into contact with your brand. You want to be consistent, and you want those touch points to enhance your true brand or align with your true brand and be an extension of that true brand. And then the third one isn't as obvious, and it's one that I'm very passionate about because I think especially your audience, Beth, can probably learn a little bit here, is it's perception. And it's not so much what people think, but how you can alter their perception. So it's all those little unique things you do as a brand that differentiate you from your competitor or differentiate you from the wider market. And so, for instance, with Momo, we offer a lifetime warranty on all of our products, which is almost unheard of. We have stock on hand, which a lot of our competitors don't, and we do next day delivery to Metro. So we constantly have people like ringing up and saying, "Oh, I ordered this at 2 p.m. yesterday, and it's just been delivered this morning." And it's a pleasing thing. And the third thing is, we offer free product sampling, so they can get the product, they can feel it, they can hold it, they know that it's good quality before they use it in their project, whether it be an end user or designer. So there's those little things that you do that just authenticate your brand in being trustworthy and sort of, I guess, building that sort of authenticity.
Yeah, and I suppose all three things, they actually are weighted evenly. Like you can't be kind of great at one but have the other one or the other two kind of non-existent. Like they all kind of need to work together for you actually to have that strong brand presence.
For sure. And so you're right, they're all very weighted evenly, and they sort of, if you're weak on one, it actually shows that you haven't got that complete brand, because in the middle of that triangle, I list things like brand authenticity, brand equity, brand loyalty, brand longevity. So when you get those things right, they're the things that you're creating for your brand.
And talk to me, I'd love to kind of dig in a little bit more about the true brand, because I think this is something that a lot of interior designers most probably aren't clear on for quite a while into their business journey. Because I think so often when you start, you're you're not clear on who are your ideal clients. You're kind of in that phase of, I need to grow my business. I'm going to work with anyone kind of thing. Talk to me a little bit about how you develop that true brand.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I'd say is brand doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and you need to. And I think our original conversation when we first met was about the evolving nature of a brand, and how sometimes you have in your mind that this is who I am and this is what I'm all about, but as opportunities arise and you start doing new things, that brand needs to evolve with you. So I would say don't be so structured and rigid in what you think you need to be. Take a step back and actually have a real honest appraisal of, yes, look at what you want to be, but also look at actually who you are and what you're doing and what you stand for and why it is that you're doing what you're doing. I mentioned that before. For anyone that's interested in that, go and check out Simon Sinek and Find Your Why.
Yeah,
it's a book, very inspiring stuff. If you can't read the whole book, there is TED Talks and that type of stuff.
Yeah. For anyone who hasn't watched their TED Talk, you need to go and listen to it. It's very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. And it certainly is, in line with how I feel with, finding that true brand, because without knowing that, the other two things you can't really execute correctly because you haven't sorted out who you are as yourself or who the brand is.
I think that's like, if I think about like a lot of, like there's a couple of designers that come to mind who I think have been phenomenally true to themselves from the day they opened the studios. And I am really surprised by that, because I think it takes a long time as a business owner to work that out and to kind of develop that brand. But I think the thing that you can do while you are like that brand, that true brand thing is growing, is the things that kind of should be there from the day one is like how you treat your customers or your clients, like those kind of fundamentals of the business, that perception part of the triangle, like they really should be there from day one. Like they're like, that's something that, you shouldn't be changing over time. Like you want to be able to be reliable and all of that kind of stuff from day one. So I think that's a really, like for someone who's like maybe starting their business, thinking of it as a triangle that, yes, eventually they all need to be weighted evenly, but at different phases of your business, they might be weighted differently.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, again, that whole evolution thing is that you can't just flick a switch and you've got this beautiful brand. It is about being consistent over time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think that if you can find the things that, and even if it's one or two things that fit into those three buckets, there's your foundation, and then you grow from that. Yeah. But those little perception pieces are the important ones, because they're the ones that, differentiate you from everyone else and maybe make your brand a bit unique. Yeah. So, for instance, with designers, maybe free consultations or like some sort of follow-up program after the project's finished, so that, there's that whole sort of quality assurance type scenario happening there. Yeah. Just little things that make you a bit more special than maybe the other person that they've spoken to.
And look, I think that's the thing. Like, I think so often you have to, like if you think about handles, there is so many handle companies out there kind of thing. Like, there is so many options we can choose from. And so, as you said, it's those perception things that kind of make them stand out. Like, that is what sets you apart. That's the kind of the difference. The other thing is the experience that the client has with you or the designer has with you kind of thing. Can you tell me about some of the things that you think about when you are thinking about the experience that the client or the designer is going to have with Momo, the company?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess you got to think of this sort of customer journey where people, they're investing a lot of time and money into their projects, and handles were probably one of the last things they may choose. So they've probably had it up to here with making selections, etc. But if I'm honest, the fact that we're on the outside of the door and it's such a high engagement piece, you're constantly grabbing it, opening a drawer, opening a door, feeling the texture and the coolness of the handle. Yep. So I want that experience to be that, they see something that is aesthetically pleasing, but then the functionality and the actual quality of it when they do engage with the piece also needs to come into play. So you want to be showing them the pretty pictures and the nice finished projects and that, but you want to reassure them that it's going to be around for many years to come and work as it's designed to work. So there's sort of a two-pronged approach. It's that nice carrot that you dangle out there to show them the aesthetic, and then it's all about the functionality and the reliability of the product.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting, because I so often talk to designers about how, like, we're very fortunate. We work in an industry where our work produces beautiful imagery. And we live in such a visual age. Like, people have such short attention spans. So the fact that we're able to produce beautiful imagery is fantastic. But you actually need to tell or show to people how you got from point A to point B. Like, the finished images are kind of they're not enough really. And so I suppose it is the same when you think about a handle or something, or really you need to show the process and the why and the what happens afterwards and what happens when something goes wrong. Like, it's really important to kind of build out your whole brand offering, not just this is the pretty picture that or this is the pretty interior we created.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I've spoken to you about this with some of the collaborations we do. We actually start from that whole design process and selection process at the beginning of a project, and then follow the build through that sort of, that gritty stage where things are going wrong and the timber hasn't turned up and what have you, and it makes it a bit more human.
Such the perfect gritty. It's the perfect word to describe that.
And so, when you do get to that final beautiful project and you see those images, you sort of have come along on the journey and you're invested in the project. So I think designers can tap into that very much so, because not everything goes perfectly, and I think part of that authenticity as a brand is showing that, but reassuring people that you're going to be there on the journey with them and that you've got the experience and the nous to get them through that, and then show them the pretty pictures, because it just brings the whole thing to life and gives it that sort of human sort of touch to it. That it's it's not all perfect, but we'll get there together.
Yeah. And, that just comes back into like the triangle that we were talking about. It's that is that third part of the triangle, isn't it? It's about, this is why you should choose me over the 3 or 4 other designers that you're talking to. Like, really, we can all produce a beautiful interior, but how my brand is just, it's about how I support you throughout that. And so often we're helping people with their biggest investment, and it's highly emotional and they've never done it before, and it's, it's quite a journey for them. So I think, I love that triangle idea. Like, I think that's a really great.
And I think, the hand-holding process is such an important thing for, I suppose, a design service, because it is, you're not delivering a product for them, or you haven't actually just produced something that they can touch and feel. You're sort of curating, again, that word is probably the perfect word, the space and the project to be enhanced and to be better than what it could be. So you really need to hold the client's hand through that journey to allow them to adjust to what you've done as a professional.
Yeah. So talking a little bit more about Momo. So we've talked about how like you have a really curated offerings of products. Tell me about how you come about, how do you decide what handles we're going to put in the product line for the next 12 months?
Well, we work very closely with the people using our product, and I think that's really important, because you don't want to hear all the people that love your product. You want to hear the people that are saying, hey, I wish you had this, or I wish this came in this length, or, that was this color, and why don't you try the texture on this? And it's funny because we've just recently released a whole collection of architectural door hardware. And the way that came about was we exhibited at Design Show Australia, 3 years ago. We just released our solid brass collection. And nearly everyone that came on the stand loved the cabinet handles, but the first thing they turned around and asked us was, do you have door hardware to match? And so that light bulb sort of went off in our heads and, started the journey for that whole new collection being designed. So I think for us, it's really sort of staying tapped into the industry, the people that are using our product, taking on feedback, whether it be good or bad, and, trying to, I guess, feel those pain points for people where we can. It's one thing, and I often speak to people inside the business about this, is, we could go out and create these crazy handles that everyone would look at and go, oh, wow. But, if you can't open a door or you can't open a drawer with it, then what's the point in having it?
Yeah. And I hate to say it, I've seen many handles where it looks great. It looks great in a picture, but is so unfunctional. Like it's like so awful to use. That user experience is awful.
Yeah, yeah. And so we're pretty balanced in our approach to design and making sure that it functions the way we want it to and works in the space it's meant to.
Yeah, very cool. So you marketing manager for a very big company. Tell me, and you work remotely some days, it's busy, busy, busy. What is one productivity hack you use in your week to get through the to-do list?
Yeah, and you just did mention that work remotely sometimes, but for me, it's all about setting boundaries and allocating time for myself.
Yep.
And when I say that, it's not about taking a stroll on the beach, although that is good to do, but it's more about scheduling and allocating time for you to get things done that you need to do, and actually just sticking to that. Turn the messenger off.
Yeah.
Turn the phone down. Commit to that time to do those tasks that you need to get through.
Is that something you kind of do? Like, do you have like a time blocking that you kind of stick to, or is it a bit more ad hoc and you're like, okay, I've got to get this done. I'm going to like shut all notifications down and just get it done? Or how do you make that work in the week?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work, I must admit.
Yeah.
But I do sort of have my days where I know that I might be in the remote office, or I might be somewhere where I'm more allowed to be less contactable, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so I just take those opportunities to sort of lock down and really focus on those things that I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah. And is that something that you've kind of had to work out how you work? Like what works best for you to kind of like get the most out of your work week?
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm very much guilty at a younger age of being too available to answer questions, or, constantly checking my emails, or allowing myself to be distracted by things less important.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've probably, had to teach myself over the years to get better at. But, now working in such a fast-paced environment, if I don't do that, I get to the end of the week and I've helped everyone else with everyone else's tasks, and I've done nothing that I was meant to do myself. So
Yeah. No, that's so true. I love time blocking. I think I always start the week. Well, I actually do it by fortnight, because I feel like a week there's too many. It just kind of gets. So I always love to put a bit of buffer into my fortnight. But I do always laugh because I kind of start the week with these great intentions, and then some weeks there's just like, we'll just write that week off and start again on Monday.
yeah, 100%. And I think like everyone sort of says you shouldn't write lists because, blah, blah, blah. But I'm a big fan of small lists.
Yes.
That, like the priority list, this is the stuff I just absolutely have to do.
Yes.
So
yep.
I like having that shorter list that I may have scrapped. I may have a list of 10 items, but there's 3 items that I need to get done.
Yes.
So I really like that.
Yeah, I use that as well. So I have, multiple very long lists. But I love having, I have a Post-it with my 3 things for the day. And some of them are like really short, sharp little things. But if I achieve those 3 things, then the day's a success kind of thing. So I love those kind of 3 things for the day.
Yeah. And I think there was Marc Bennett that talks about, celebrating the wins, and some of those wins don't have to be these big audacious goals. They're just, I've made the bed, I've had the coffee, I've out the door,
Exactly.
I've gone for a run or something. And so, yeah, if you can get those short lists done, then you can celebrate them.
And sometimes that's the only win of the day. I got my 3 things done, but I will celebrate that.
Yeah, very much so.
So what excites you about our industry at the moment?
I really like this question because the answer talks to me as my own personality, because people aren't playing it too safe anymore.
Yes.
They're designing and building spaces with character. They're no longer afraid to use alternate materials or color or texture. And it really adds personality to their projects, which I love.
Yeah.
And from a brand point of view, that's great, because it means that we can do the same thing. We can try some new things, try some new textures, try some new colors, some new shapes that, maybe 5-8 years ago we may not have been bold enough to try.
Yeah. I really love that answer, because it is a very similar answer that I'm getting from a lot of guests, and that it is everyone is being more brave and everyone's embracing, like we're kind of letting go of doing what is on trend. And we're really, I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing or what it is, but it's a real kind of, it's a very consistent answer that a lot of people are just, we're doing what we want to do and we're embracing what we want to embrace kind of thing. I think it's so lovely.
Yeah, it's great. And I really like that, you know, I don't want to call it a design renaissance because I'm not sure if we're quite there, but, you know, you look at some of these designs that have, you know, been fit into the environment that they're in and matching sort of natural elements with manufactured elements. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. There is some very beautiful design out there at the moment. And I do think it is because people are stepping away from those constructed trends of this is what we should be doing, or everyone needs to have a white kitchen. So
yes, yeah.
It's very cool. Oh, Marc, thank you so much for joining me today. I have loved chatting about Momo and brand, and I think brand is something that designers don't always think of themselves as a brand, but we really are, and you can take so many of the principles that bigger companies use to build their brand to really build out your design studio. So thank you for sharing those with us.
No, thanks for having me and been great chatting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this design dialogue. I hope you have found it full of inspiration and helpful information to take into your design studio. If you like the podcast and want to hear more, consider sharing it or writing a review, as it helps us reach more people, and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to unlock the power of effortless studio management and elevate your design business to new heights, please follow the links in our show notes to see how more time to design can help you build a better business. Have a great week, and I will see you for our next design dialogue.